Welcome back to the Done Deal Show. I'm joined by Callum from Coppish. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Not too bad, brother. How are you?
Other than the fact all the roads around my house are shut and it took me 25 minutes. That's why I'm late. 25 minutes to get home from the gym. It's a 5-minute drive. Barring that, I'm good, mate. I'm good. School holiday started today as well. 6 weeks holiday started today. So
mine starts tomorrow.
Enjoy today, bruv. Enjoy today.
Bruv, tomorrow. You know, when I pick them up from school tomorrow, it's going to be like, okay, cool. I don't have to do school run. But it's going to hit me about 6 o'clock that like life is going to be a madness for the next 6 weeks.
It is. It is going to be. It is going to be. And look, viewers, what are you doing for the 6 weeks holiday? Let us know. Loads to talk about on the show today. Arsenal, of course, getting Gyökeres over the line. Is Eze going to be next? Because Fabrizio and Ben Jacobs have stated that it is not done yet for Arsenal. They will do more in the window. We're talking Xavi Simons to Chelsea. According to a few journalists I've spoken to this morning, not only are they advancing on personal terms, there is believed to already be an agreement that is going to be announced imminently in relation to the player wanting to join Chelsea. We're looking at Liverpool's dream Isak move. Does Cal think it's going to happen? Because I spoke about this yesterday, Cal. I'm going to say it again. The news won't go away. There's now talk today that he has rejected a new deal at Newcastle, and there's £100,000 difference in what they're willing to offer and what he wants. We're also talking Wissa to Brentford. Wissa to leave Brentford and join Newcastle. I want United to make a hijack. And who will Man United sign as our new number 9? It's going to be from the Premier League, according to some sources. So lots of stories. Anything you viewers want us to speak about, feel free to send in your comments. We'll put your chats up on the screen as always. We love doing that, as you say. This is a great one. It says, Terry, bring your amazing ass to Chicago so I can show you how to do parking lot pimping. Well, bro, listen, I'm very comfortable in my sexuality, so I won't freak out about these kind of comments. I always find people that get really stressed about them. I always think, oh, what you're hiding, right? I don't know about this. A lot of us YouTubers do like thumbnails now where we're like this or like that.
Yeah.
I find the weirdest response, blokes that go, it's so sus that Terry's got his mouth wide open. What's he expecting someone to put in there, a willy? And I think, hang on. How is the first thing you think of when my mouth's open is a penis going in my mouth? That's not about me. That's about you, bruv. I don't think about it that way. Poor pause. But yes, bruv. No parking lot pimping for me. But I'd love to go back to Chicago. Amazing, amazing city. But thanks for the super chat. But you won't throw me off with that kind of thing because only men that are not comfortable in their sexuality get freaked out by those kind of comments. And you can take that to the bank. You can take that to the bank. Where to start today? Look, I want to start, because you're a Liverpool fan, I want to start with the Isak news with yourself, mate, because he's injured. He's training alone. There was a story that I read yesterday, and I hope I bookmarked it so I can actually quote it correctly. Sometimes I did here. So this comes, there's a couple of sources have put this out, that Newcastle are £100,000 a week away from matching Isak's demands, which is £300,000 a week to stay at Newcastle. It says here that Newcastle are shocked by Isak's demands. They were not expecting this from the Swedish striker.
All right. I'm going to speak about it as a Liverpool fan, and I'll speak about it as an overall football fan. So as a Liverpool fan, I'd love us to sign Isak. I think there is a chance we sign Isak. I think there's a high chance we sign him. And I think he would be a player that would come in and automatically improve our starting 11. Like, without shadow of a doubt. He'd be, in my opinion, he's the second best striker in the league behind Haaland. You could arguably even say he's the better footballer than Haaland. And some might say he's the best striker. I still think it's Haaland, though. From a footballer standpoint, it's a difficult one because as a Liverpool fan, I've never liked transfers playing out in the public, and his one is starting to play out in the public now. Now, obviously, a lot of Liverpool fans put 2 and 2 together yesterday and got 5, myself included, when he was training by himself. Then news came out he's injured. I had to tuck my tail between my legs and go, okay, maybe I was trying to clutch onto straws that weren't even there. Him wanting 300k from what I've read, is a situation where Newcastle can't actually physically afford to do that because of PSR. I don't know if we pay him 300k at Liverpool, but I think the difference at Liverpool is he'd have a better chance of triggering bonuses and winning a level of trophies. I do think the deal can happen. And I know people will be like, well, you spent this amount of money already. You're right. But over the last however many years, we haven't spent as much as other clubs, and we brought in a good amount as well. And we'll still bring in a good amount this summer as well from player sales. I think this is a deal that could get done. I think we'll try it up until the very last moment. And I think the fact that we got Ekitike in just gives us that buffer as well. If we didn't have Ekitike, then I think Newcastle could really take the mick with us. I don't think allow that to happen now that we've got Ekitike through the door.
Yeah, the whole thing. Listen, I keep having to say this to Newcastle fans because a lot of them think I want you guys to sign him.
Oh, is this because you confessed your love about Liverpool a couple of months ago? Is that still lingering?
Yeah, this is it. Ever since I said there's family parties with You Never Walk Alone as a kid. Horrible what memory. It's mad. I had a weird thing the other day. I had to get some hairspray for my daughter because she was doing some dancing, and I had to run to the shop and grabbed one random one off the shelf, sprayed it, and smelt it. And I just got all these childhood memories back because it turns out it was the same brand of hairspray my nan, God rest her soul, used to use. Oh, and my nan's been dead 17 years. I don't even know if I smelt a hairspray for 20 years. And I went, all these childhood, and You Never Walk Alone does that because of all those bloody family parties as well. It's horrible. But yet they seem to think I want it to happen because I keep talking about the possibility of it. And that's the frustration for me. And it's like, again, the news yesterday. Eddie Howe saying I don't want to say he'll definitely be here because I might get egg on my face. That means he's definitely not. That means it's not 100% he's staying. And a lot of people are guessing right now. I reckon he stays. I reckon he goes. Nobody knows. The only certainty right now is that it's a possibility. And I know that sounds a little bit of a paradox, a little bit of an oxymoron. That it's a guarantee that it's a possibility. I'm talking about the here and now in this moment that it could go either way. And I've said all along, and I'll state this again to Newcastle fans, forget Liverpool. Forget who might buy him. If he isn't going to sign a new deal, or you can't match his wage demands, and this is what happens as well when you become a better team, Newcastle. Arsenal struggled for years because Wenger didn't want to break the bank. You're in a position where you would break the bank, but rules, you just can't, you don't have the money for it. Yeah. When you have a player that you're all sitting there and saying, fans, best striker in the world. Manager says, best striker in the world. Do you know what that player wants? To be paid the same as the best strikers in the world. You create this situation. You create this moment where he's going to want to be paid what all the other top strikers in the world are being paid.
Sorry to cut you, Terry. I had this back and forth a lot with Liverpool fans last season who were saying, oh, you can't give Virgil and Salah that sort of money. My rebuttal every single time was, okay, I've been told Virgil van Dijk's not only the best defender in the world, I've been told by numerous Liverpool fans he's the best defender to lace boots in the Premier League era. But yet we're saying, oh, we can't pay him that because it's we can't really do that. You can't pick and choose how you want it. You either say he's the best in the world, and if he's the best in the world, you pay someone like they're the best in the world, or you don't say they're the best in the world, and you deal with the consequences of that. But you can't have your cake and eat it. And footballers are humans. If I'm the best at my job, then I expect to be paid better than everyone else. I just think that's a logic in life, right?
Of course it is. Absolutely. And I think that this has been my message to Newcastle fans all along. If you can't get him to sign a new deal now, if his demands are at a point that you're not going to match them, I would sell him. Yes, you could keep him for another year and maybe you could whittle him down to 250. You could raise your levels to 250. You qualify for the Champions League again. It gives you an extra year's money. But remember, Newcastle won't be budgeting for the next 5 years, which is how long that deal will be, with a guarantee of Champions League money. Most clubs don't budget with the Champions League money. They budget for without it, and they add that in as a bonus because there could be a number of reasons you don't qualify for the Champions League that happen, and if you suddenly commit to a wage bill that needs Champions League football for 5 years, but then you get an injury crisis and you miss out, or you have a bad season and miss out, you could go from a PSR point of view, you could end up breaking rules, lose more points the following year and not qualify again. So they've got to be very careful, Newcastle. And if he doesn't want to agree to a deal, if he only wants 300k a week and you think he won't yield, they've got to be very clever, very mindful, and turn around and go, we've got to move this man on. We've got to move him on. 120, 130, 140, 150 is a huge amount of money. It enables you to go out there and buy a top striker. And I tell you where they might regret this. And Wissa is a very good striker. He looks like they might pick him up for 30 million. But I think Ekitike's got a bigger ceiling. And we also already know that Isak's a better player. I still think today what Newcastle should do, if Isak doesn't want to sign a new deal, is pick the phone up to Liverpool and work something out where you guys pull away from Ekitike. That would be my first play as Newcastle. We say, listen, let's start talking. But what we'd like, Liverpool might say, no, he ain't going to sign a new deal. We're going to push for him anyway, which they do. But that would be the first thing I'd try and do is say, listen, we'd really like him. Is there a way you guys could, pull out and we'd guarantee this and we'd do that. And maybe we'd give you a little discount. If that doesn't work, then I'd be looking at the other best available strikers in Europe. I'd start that process now of getting them lined up, knowing that Liverpool, because I still think you'll buy Isak. If you get Ekitike, he's done. His medical's done. I still think you guys would spend the money on him now. And I think you'd then weigh up what you do on the left-hand side, whether Ekitike plays out there a little bit and things drift. Yeah. Gakpo can go out there. I think you'd do it. Rotate, exactly.
I think everyone sees Isak and Ekitike and thinks, they can't coexist. I don't think that we won't play two up top for most of the time. But we've all seen, as great as Isak is, he picks up injuries, right? So the last thing we're going to do is try and burn him out. Then he picks up a long-term injury and Ekitike only plays then. We're a club that's looking to play 60-odd games next season, right? Because we're going to try and compete on all fronts. Ekitike and Isak will have enough minutes split between them where they get enough to do enough and show that they're both quality. This notion of, you've only got a starting 11, everyone who's not in the starting 11 only gets peanuts as minutes, that died a long time ago. That died a long time ago when teams started going for multiple honours on a regular basis. Man United and Arsenal were doing doubles and trebles back in the day, but they were the only two. Now you've got Chelsea who are trying to go for multiple trophies. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. So we can't all sit there and go, we only just want to start in 11, because ultimately you end up with egg on your face because you end up with nothing. You have to go all out and you have to try and build a squad that is capable of helping you. And again, injuries and suspensions happen throughout the season. Who's to say we don't buy Isak and he goes down in 2 months' time with an injury for 3 months? Then Ekitike is going to have to play them, right? So I'd rather have Ekitike in through the door already than just wait for Isak and not sign anyone else. We have to do what we have to do.
I spoke last week, and I'm live with the boys later, actually, on Straight Facts. About, I thought if Newcastle got Ekitike, I felt it spelt the end of Isak anyway, because I see them both as starters, and I think you'd get a year of them together, but I felt like in a year's time, maybe you wouldn't. It will sound hypocritical. That's why I'm addressing it and framing it first. But I do think that situation is different at Liverpool due to who you are and the history of your club. An example being Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. A lot of youngsters
I said this yesterday. I hope you're going to say I said 4 strikers. Is that what you're going to say?
We have 4 strikers. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said this because it was Man United.
I said this to Hassan, bro.
And this is what the youngsters or people that weren't watching football back then don't remember. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is I stand on what I said about Newcastle, but this is why I talk about this a lot in sport. Is that we can't treat all football teams, all players, all golfers, all MMA fighters in a monolithic way like they're all the same. They're different. There is Conor McGregor isn't going to come back to be the second fight of the night on a pay-per-view event. He just isn't because of where he was. John Jones wouldn't do it. Even Triple H. There's certain fighters, Triple C. Like, none of these guys, because their status, are going to come back and be these massive understudies. They'd rather not fight than do that.
Yeah.
In football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer turned down multiple big clubs in the late 90s, Spurs being one of them, had a good team at the time, to be their starter. He was happy to be part of the rotation system at Man United because it was Man United, and Man United were winning everything. And I reckon you could get Ekitike and Isak, and I think you'd get 2, if not 3 years minimum, before you maybe even get a slight murmur of a problem. You might, in say 3 years' time, Ekitike might be sitting there going, do you know what? I'm now looked at as the best striker in the world, or one of the best. I really want to be the main guy. And you cross that bridge when you get there. But I think a club Newcastle size, who are not challenging yet for Premier Leagues, who are not considered capable yet of winning the major trophies regularly, I think you get a year tops of that. And I do think there is a distinction. I do think there is a difference. It'll upset Newcastle fans to hear it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I hate Liverpool, but I'm not comparing Newcastle and Liverpool. I can't put you in the same conversation. I can't put you in a comparison with each other. That would be utterly disrespectful to the institution that is Liverpool. And this is the way I view these things. If I disrespect Liverpool in that way, by saying you're similar to a Newcastle, I'm saying Man United. Why are you defending Liverpool? I'm also defending Man United. Because if I'm saying Liverpool are the same as Newcastle, I'm saying Man United are the same as Newcastle. And I don't care how bad we are, this summer's proved we're not the same. We've literally signed 2 of the players they've nicked. And it's one of the reasons, it's partly, I like Wissa. Part of the reasons I want to go and hijack him is just for a laugh as well. It would just be funny to take another player. My cousin Joe has been in my DMs. My cousin Joe that I grew up with, he's a Newcastle fan. And he's just like, you fucking bastards. And I'm like, I'd like to do it again. I'd like to. So, yeah, listen, I think...
They shoot themselves in the foot with this Wissa stuff, though, because they're only trying to bid 25 million for Wissa, right?
So when you say, what do you mean by shooting yourself in the foot? Explain that. Because
they're asking for a substantial amount of money for us, for Isak, which I think that they've got every right to. And I would not have an issue with paying 130, maybe even 140 for Isak. Do you not have to hell with it? I pay 150 for Isak. I think he's that much of a game changer. But if you're looking at Vissa's stats and the fact that he played he's not as good, but you're offering 125 million pounds less than what you value your striker at, is that not? And then we've seen how much Mbeumo's gone for
4 goals less last season.
I mean, Newcastle kind of are shooting themselves in the foot because the value that they put on Isak, Brentford are going to look at that and go, okay, if you're valuing Isak at that, then we're going to put Wissa at this value then. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too different.
No, I listen, you could be. I mean, I don't know what Brentford are thinking. How long has Wissa got left on his deal is probably an important question because I've heard reports that genuinely he could be purchased. Brentford may accept 30 million.
That's a hell of a deal.
It is a hell of a deal. He has got on his deal. Oh, he's got a year left. He's got a year left. That's why.
All right, I'm going to say something really cheeky as well here. If Newcastle completely shut the door on the Isak thing, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool went in for Wissa as a backup or as a rotational option.
I wouldn't be surprised either. This is my little gut feeling. Man United are linked to loads of strikers. What was said yesterday is that Amorim would prefer someone that's done it in the Prem, scored in the Prem, delivered to a good level in the Prem. That makes you think Mateta, Watkins, and the other player Wissa now comes to mind. Yeah. My view is, if Man United were clever here, if he's on our list and we want him, do you know what would be really clever? Would be to talk to his agent privately and say, look, Wissa is going to pick Man United over Newcastle if we make him the right financial offer, the right package, the right everything. That needs to be correct. Again, he only gone for money. Yeah, all the top clubs pay the best wages. We just spoke about it with Isak. Yes. Isak wouldn't be picking Liverpool because they're paying him 300k a week. He'd be picking Liverpool because they're willing to pay him what he's worth. There's a fundamental distinction between those things. But what Man United should do, and I think Liverpool should do this, Chelsea did it brilliantly with João Pedro, is you don't need to get into negotiations with Brentford. You let Newcastle do it until you hear through the grapevine. It's almost done at 30 million. Then you go in and go, Wissa, there you go. Look, we'll pay her an extra 20 grand a week. We're Man United or we're Liverpool or we're Arsenal or we're whoever, and bang, he's going to pick those clubs over them. But yeah, look, 30 million. If they get Wissa for 30 million, I know he's not even that old. He's 28 years old. He's about to turn 29, but he has only got a year left on his contract. But I will say for Brentford, they're going to lose him. They're in trouble next year, aren't they? They look like they're in big trouble, man.
I know, to be fair, I know everyone speaks about Mbeumo and Wissa, and rightly so. Kevin Shade at Brentford last season actually got really good numbers as well. So it was more of a front three than a front two, but obviously Wissa and Mbeumo stood out way more than he did. I do worry for Brentford though. Obviously losing Thomas Frank and Mbeumo, they've lost Tony a couple years ago as well, and they survived that. But obviously they still had Mbeumo, Wissa, and Thomas Frank. I think it's going to be very, very difficult unless they're able to get some real gems in that no one really knows about, or turn some players who aren't necessarily highly favored into favorable players. They're going to find it difficult. Yeah,
no, I hear that. If people saying Brentford want 50 mil, and I get that. I'm just saying, I'm only reporting what the Newcastle press are putting out there. But if I was Man United, honestly, look, Mateta, Wissa, or Ollie Watkins? Which one do you think United should go for?
Mateta, Wissa, or Ollie Watkins. Based on the fact that you're going to play these 2 10s with Mbeumo and Cunha. Oh, it's a tricky one. I'd probably go. Oh, Terry, I actually don't know. Put me in a difficult spot here.
Let me break it down, because I know you won't get.
It's not necessarily who's the best out of them; it's who sits the system the best, right?
So this, we can look at system. I think what's also important as a factor, we'll do a Tony Stark. I need all the variables before I can do the equation, right? I love that line. I use it in like, it's great. Let's throw these variables in. Ollie Watkins, we'll go by what we've heard the prices will be. Let's say 40 million for Wissa. Let's go in between what Newcastle press is saying and what Brentford press is saying. 40 million for him. They're talking 60 million each for either Mateta or Watkins. So I think the price and the profile with Man United's budget play a part. 40 million Wissa or 60 million Watkins or 60 million Mateta. Which one do you think would be the best fit, best value for money, and deliver the most for us next year?
It might be Mateta potentially. I think his hold-up play is very good. I think, given the way your system is and the fact that I think Amorim will be quite defensive in a lot of games, Mateta becomes very important in being able to get the ball up to him being able to hold on to the ball, bring others into play. He's got less mileage on the clock probably than the others, even though he's the same age as them. And his striking rate over the last couple of years has been pretty good as well. I'd probably say Mateta, but I think all three are very good strikers. None of them are world class. None of them may ever be world class, but they're an improvement on the Højlund, who obviously isn't of the level that you need if you're going to try and become the Man United you used to be.
Yeah.
What happened with Xerxes, though, can I ask? What's going on with him?
See, for me, I mean, I'm going to be intrigued.
He's someone that can bring others into play and do that stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Xerxes next year. I'm intrigued by Xerxes because I think he doesn't have great pace and he's not a brilliant finisher, but he's very technically gifted on the ball. And the back end of the season, I would say between sort of February and his injury that I think came in April, he really started to improve and influence games well. I'm intrigued to see what he looks like when he's got more technical ability around him, plus more speed. And I think that's the one issue that if you gave Xerxes electric speed or brilliant, if you had both of those things, he'd be Isak. But like, if you gave him speed, I think you see another level of a play. Man United's problem is too many of our players, especially the ones that are technically gifted. You know, you'd put Eriksen into this situation, and even Bruno Fernandes, they just lack that. It's not even pace over 100 meters you need. It's that pace over that first 10 yards to beat a man. Yeah. Mason Mount's he's an okay technician. I mean, I'm not saying he's Zidane or anything. He's an okay technician. Problem is, we were watching it in a preseason game the other day. He got the ball. It's like, right, do your man, you'll go through and goal. Oh, I need to find a pass because I ain't got the power to beat him. Like we lack that. But I think Xerxes, I've got a feeling he'll have a decent season next year as an individual. I don't know how the team's going to do yet. We need more signings. But yeah, I like Mateta, but I can't lie. When I look at the price there of Wissa, if it ends up being 30 million, part of me just thinks, do that, and then throw the rest of the money at a really good, technically gifted, athletic midfielder. And I think if you do that, and a goalkeeper, I think if you do those three deals, one game a week, I think there'll be a sizable improvement in Man United next season. So
you've been linked with Edison, right, for midfield?
We've been linked to Edison. There's a Spanish player that we're linked to that I know. We were linked to him the other week and it was played down. Now it's turned out he's rejected his latest contract offer from Valencia. It's Xavi Guerrera or something. I don't quite know how it's pronounced. We've been linked to him again today. I mean, it may just be paper talk. Obviously, the dream is Belieber, but it's just going to be so expensive. Like you could throw Belieber into that midfield, the improvement would be absolutely massive. But my fear of the striker is we spend so much money on a striker, we don't improve the midfield enough, and then I can't be seeing Cass and Bruno in that pivot. That will ruin us this year.
I hear you, Joe, but
we're linked to the Sporting guy as well. The
Coachman.
Yeah, very press resistant.
I think the difficulty for you guys is because you're a person who's used to seeing your club win. It's knowing that this isn't a one summer fix. This is maybe a 2 or 3 year fix. But if you can show incremental improvement over the next 3 years, I don't think anyone will be complaining too much. Because let's face it, you're rock bottom right now. This is about as low as it can get for Man United. No trophies last season, lowest place finished in the league, in the Premier League era. So if you don't improve on that, then it's not hard to improve on that, but to show sizable improvement and then go again and then improve again and improve again, I don't think too many people will be complaining. But I think you need more goals in your team, which will always give you a better chance of improving, and you didn't have that last season. So for all of the game at Anfield, for example, if it's Wissa in front of goal rather than Harry Maguire in the last minute of that game when we draw 2-2, you could come away from Anfield with 3 points. Those 3 points could have galvanized the team to do a bit more over the course of the season. I think people sometimes miss that. Like in a game can have a knock-on effect. If you win a game in the last minute at Anfield, in a game where everyone expected us to smash you to pieces, then you just build up a bit of momentum and things can change. But it'll be interesting to see what you guys do. You need a lot, but I don't think you'll be able to do that at once.
Yeah, there are a few United fans online that I see. I really do think they deluded themselves into thinking that it was a one summer fix. One, we don't have the money for it. Two, you look how much money Chelsea spent in their first 2 years, 3 years with Clearlake, and they're still not fully fixed as a squad. And they've become a much better team now. Liverpool, it took years under FSG, years under Klopp to get it right. Even with Man City, and again, they were in an era, the first 3 or 4 years of their new ownership and their rebuild, their build really, that was unlimited spending allowed, and they still had holes where they were struggling in the Champions League, and they'd have 1 year of competing for the Prem, then a year of not. I think some Man United fans are absolutely off their rocker if they think this. It doesn't matter who the manager is, and look, Amorim might fail. But the squad build was never going to take a year because we're completely broken. And history, especially of English clubs, dictates that when you're as broken as we were and you're fallen as far from grace as we are, I've never seen a team out of it for a decade or more in a mess, financial problems, toxicity everywhere. I can't think of an example where in one summer it was just fixed and everything was great again and you went on to challenge. After that amount of time, I've seen teams be really good, have a bad year and come back. But what I've never seen is this example. It always takes years. So I'm accepting of how long it takes. Equal what you now get in the modern day world is, no, that means you're a top red, no standards. I have standards. I just understand that it's not being. And the maddest bit is the angry people will scream and shout for 4 years. And then when it does turn out, then when you see the light for the end of the tunnel, see, if I hadn't been angry this whole time, we wouldn't have got here. It will get there with or without you. It will be there with or without you. Trust me. It absolutely will be there with or without you. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, mate. Like, it's you screaming and again, I'm still yet to see any evidence that consistently being angry makes your team better. I think criticism is important. It's good to hold your club to account. At the same time, it's some of it's mad with Man United. I'm going to be angry about all of our summer. Yeah, because that's going to make us have more money in the bank, isn't it? Brilliant.
As of right now, though, all right, let's say you go and get a striker and you get a centre midfielder. Where would you see yourself, or where do you think would be a respectable finish for you guys next season? So let me on the spot because you haven't. You haven't. You have to see what the other teams still do as well, right?
Yeah. So there's two answers to this. It's not what do I think. I don't know what Man United are going to do. So to say what I think they'll do is hard because I actually don't know right now. We're very quiet on the links to our midfielder. And I'm torn. Some will say that means it's going to be a crap signing, like NDD. Others will say we're working and cooking something quietly, trying to keep the price down. We'll see. Yeah. If we sign a decent striker like a Wissa or a Watkins, if we get a decent midfielder and a good goalkeeper, based on what else we've done, I see us finishing in the top 8, as an example. If that midfielder is brilliant, if the goalkeeper we sign is amazing, if we're able to pull off deals like that, if our goalkeeper and midfielder are as good as Mbumo and Cunha, then there's a possibility of pushing for the top 6. That all being said, if we end up not signing a new goalkeeper, we only sign Ndidi in the midfield, and the new striker is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then we'll struggle to make top 10. So I'm really open-minded to it right now. It's very hard for me to give the prediction because I don't know what we're going to do. And there'll be some that will say, nah, Terry, it'll be crap. And it might end up being crap. And I'll see, I told you so. Yeah, you also said we weren't going to get players like Cunha and Mbumo 3 or 4 months ago. We can all guess. And then if we get it right, pretend we're Nostradamus. I'm going to be honest, to know where we're going to finish, I need to wait to see who we sign. I need to see a few preseason games. But for me, if we get 2 or 3 more players of the level we've already bought, with one game a week significant as well, because the squad can handle that. And the more athleticism in the middle. I also want to see this young midfielder we've got called Kone. I want to see what he can do, what he can bring to the midfield, because I think there's a real talent there. So I'm intrigued to see it. Similarly to how I felt about Mainu a couple of summers ago. But yeah, the signings are really key. But look, we can push for the top 6 with the right signings. I really do believe that, because we're adding goals. We've added 2 of that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of Ollie Watkins. We'd actually have 3 of last season's top 8 goal scorers in our team next year. There's a significance to that, I think. So, but we'll see. Talk about big teams, enough about United. Fair enough. On big teams, big story this morning from Fabrizio Romano, or teams that are going to be challenging. Oh, hang on. There's been an update now, is there? Oh, no, no, he's retweeted it. So it's I told you, I spoke to a journalist earlier on about this story. So Fabrizio has said that Chelsea are advancing in talks with Xavi Simons on personal terms. I spoke to a journalist off the record earlier on today who both said that that's practically done, or it is done. The announcement's going to come out soon that personal terms are agreed. I said that to you behind the scene. Fabrizio has just in the last few seconds retweeted that. Xavi Simons to Chelsea. How important or big or good of a deal do you think that is for their season ahead?
He's a good player. It's always weird with Chelsea to figure out what they're going to do, because they almost seem like they have a scattergun approach, whereby they'll just go, we're just going to pick up anyone who's available who is of a good level and above. Xavi Simons is a good player. He's not going to start with a Cole Palmer in a 10, which in my opinion is probably his best position. And then left wing, they've just signed Gittins. I'm trying to think who else they have who can play left wing. Maybe no one else. So if that's the case, maybe it's him and Gittins who
they have Tyreek George, and they, maybe Garnacho.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's difficult to pin down. Chelsea almost seem like they're trying to build 2 starting 11s, one for the cup competitions and one for the league and Champions League, which is almost the dream scenario for every big team, right? It's just how do they do that and build that? I mean, they bought Delap and Pedro, and then they've still got Jackson now. So it all depends on how they sell as well. Again, João Pedro is another player who can actually play in the 10 as well, so he could rotate with Palmer. So you could actually effectively have him and Palmer for the 10. João Felix is gone now, right? Or is he still at the club?
João Felix, he's still officially at the club, but he's going to go.
But he's going. Sterling's still officially there, but I'm sure he'll be going as well. They've got amazing squad depth. I don't know if they've got any world-class players outside of Cole Palmer, people would argue. But they've got fantastic depth. I think they still need to address centre-back and goalkeeper especially. If they do that, then I think Chelsea will be in a position where they could genuinely challenge for the Premier League. As of right now, I see them as a top 4 team. But they're going to be a horrible team to play against next season.
Yeah, no, I hear. They are going to be. They're going to be a very difficult team. They're going to be a very difficult team. I think they've grown up so much as well. I think they've just gone to like another.
For anyone in the chat, I don't think Caicedo is world class yet. Personally, I don't. I mean, I've not seen him play Champions League. Surely, to be world class, you got to play Champions League at least one season to see you against the top level players, right? Or have I missed something?
I mean,
unless you guys can name me a player out there who's world class who hasn't played Champions League. Anyone?
Does the Club World Cup not count?
No. By the way, I'm not downplaying the trophy, saying it's a crap trophy to win. Congratulations to Chelsea. But all right, if we're going to really break this down, then we'd all agree Caicedo's first year at Chelsea was a mixed bag. And then his second season at Chelsea was very good. Again, to young Cuenca, I've never called Gravenberch world class. I don't think Gravenberch is world class. I don't think you can be called world class after one season. You guys can come up with you for Liverpool players. I'll be the first to say who is world class and who isn't world class. If you're going to call someone world class after 1 year in having one good season in the Premier League and not playing Champions League football, then respectfully, I kind of don't know what we're doing here.
Who do you? I want to ask this question: like, who offers more to a top Premier League team right now, Declan Rice or Caicedo? Who do you think has proven themselves more, Declan Rice or Caicedo at the highest level?
Honestly, probably Declan Rice. I think Caicedo is the better player, but Declan Rice has probably proven more because he's had the platform to prove more. But I think Caicedo is the better player.
I understand that. Yeah, listen, the Champions League argument holds water, and a lot of Chelsea fans will turn around and say they're a bigger club than Arsenal because they've gone and won the Champions League.
Yeah, well, yeah, right now they are a bigger club than Arsenal, but that doesn't mean that Caicedo is world class. Caicedo is a fantastic footballer. But once again, I ask the question, can you be called world class after having one very good season in the Premier League and not having played in the Champions League? Like, you have to play in the biggest and best competitions to be given those titles. You have to be. Haaland wasn't called world class before he started playing in the Champions League and playing for City and all that. So if that's the case, anyone who just has one good season in the Premier League is world class. If that's the case, Wissa is world class then. Why are we not calling Wissa world class? Why are we not calling, when Patrick Bamford scored a bag of goals in the COVID season, why are we not calling him world class? Because world class means you've got to do it over a sustained period at the top level in the best competitions. I thought this was surely a common knowledge thing though around football fans, but clearly not.
I've had this conversation with Don a few times about Arsenal's midfield versus Chelsea's midfield, and he doesn't comprehend or not comprehend. Well, no, I don't know if he does understand what I'm saying or gets what I'm saying. Doesn't need to agree. And I think we do. I don't know if you notice this a lot in football debates now. You don't understanding someone doesn't mean you agree with them. And I think sometimes people do understand you, but they almost don't want to admit that they understand you because it's endorsing your message, I think, to a certain degree. And big up DJ for watching us on your way back from Tenerife. Big up yourself, mate. And I look at it because for the last 3 years, I think the engine room, I think the midfield of a team is the most important part. I don't think you can be in title races. I don't think you could advance into the latter stages of major competitions without a top midfield. I just don't think it's plausible. I don't think it's possible. And I look at what where Arsenal have got to. And I won't use the word achieve because that triggers people. But we are comparing it to Chelsea, who did brilliantly to win the Club World Cup. But let's be honest, if Arsenal last season were in the Conference League, there's a fantastic chance they win it. There really is a fantastic chance they win it.
They'd walk that.
Exactly. So it's hard to compare that trophy. But the Club World Cup is there. Well, West Ham won it, exactly. So I look at it this way. I look at Arsenal's midfield over the last 3 seasons, and I look at its stability of protecting its back line. I look at the fact they had 2 seasons back-to-back where they broke their own goal-scoring record. They got into title races nobody expected. And I have a feeling it's going to get even better this year with Zubimendi. I think Norgaard's also being completely underrated as an addition to the midfield. And Chelsea's is amazing. I love Chelsea's midfield. I think it's brilliant. But I do get your point that it's not just, and this is the one thing I said to Don the other day, they did very, very well in the beginning of last season and brilliantly from kind of March to the end of the campaign. Very average middle of the season. This is the biggest test this campaign for Chelsea's midfield, if we're going to debate it, playing 2 games a week at the highest level. Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League. That's not just when you're tested on a technical level, but physically and probably more importantly, mentally. Can you mentally get yourself up to those levels 2 games a week? And remember, there's 8 group games now that go right through to January. And that's what I loved about last season, because normally you get early December, the final last 2 league games are often dead rubbers, group games are dead rubbers. Then you wouldn't see the Champions League till February. It goes right through to January. There's almost no break in it now. And and this year as well, there's a reason to keep fighting till the end. The higher you finish, the better your draw is going to be for the knockout games. So I'm not saying that Chelsea are not capable. And this is the problem with so many of these conversations now. Chelsea's midfield is amazing. But I absolutely agree with you that prove it at the highest level, week in, week out, 2 games a week, maintain a title push, and deliver. And then I think people will give you that crown that you are seeking. And I do agree. That to be said, I think Caicedo is amazing. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I'd bend over backwards to have him in my team. I think he's fantastic.
So
I'm not turning him down at all.
I was twerking for Caicedo a couple of years ago. I got clipped up for months, bro. You know. But at the same time, in the same way, I'll sit here and I'll tell you, Gravenberch had a fantastic season last season. I don't think Gravenberch is world class. Konate had a fantastic season last season. I don't think Konate is world class. I'll sit here and I'll tell you my players who I think are brilliant, but they're not world class. Because for me, world class is given to players who are consistent for a sustained amount of time. Anyone can have a brilliant season here or there, but can you do it over 2-3 years at the highest level across multiple competitions? Because if you can't, then you're not world class. Caicedo hasn't been given that chance yet. When he's given that chance and he proves he can do it, then I'll say he is. But until then, you can't say he is. He's a fantastic footballer. One of the best DMs in the league, if not the best, some would say, apart from Rodri. But I need to see it in the Champions League because that's the barometer, right? Because everyone would say, and again, you know me, Terry, I'm not the biggest Arsenal person out there. Everyone would say, oh, Saka's this, Saka's that. And I'd turn around, or people turn around and be like, Saka ain't played in the Champions League. How are you calling him world class? Last season, we saw Saka in the Champions League against Real Madrid, against some of the other big teams. And what did we start saying? Maybe he is there now. Maybe we can start putting him in those conversations. But I hold the same energy for everyone. Like, if you're at Liverpool and you're Gravenberch, who's had a fantastic season in the league, and the Champions League as well, but you've only done it for 1 year, I can't call you world class. Can't call you world class. So you can get at me and attack me, but I'll hold the same energy for my own players. I'm not going to sit there and say you're world class off the back of one season. And to say you're world class at Brighton, if that's the case, then why does no one say, when Liverpool fans say Virgil was world class before he came to Liverpool? I never heard that argument when he was at Southampton. So why all of a sudden was Caicedo world class at Brighton?
Well, it means Cunha and I want to see everybody in the comments say that Mbeumo and Cunha are world class. They were doing it in worse teams, scoring like 20 goals last year. 20 league goals is like this kind of utopian goal for strikers. This was a winger that scored 20 in a worse team in the hardest league in the world. Why is no one calling him world class?
Exactly.
Because he isn't yet or ever. But he's very, very good.
Again, someone in the comments says you don't think Isak's world class. No, I've never said the words Isak's world class. He's not. I'm not seeing him prove it in a Champions League.
I'm by the way, I'm agreeing with where you're coming from. I do actually think Caicedo is the best DM in the world. But what I will say,
Rodri.
Right now, well, Rodri's been injured and been playing. I'm talking currently. Does that make sense? Like in terms of Rodri ain't been playing. I get your point on Rodri. Where I get where you're coming from is this. I think this season Caicedo will prove it to people that are. And by the way, Cal isn't doubting him. Cal's just saying I've got to see it first.
Not there yet.
Or not there yet. I believe he is there yet. I believe he is there, and I believe he'll do a brilliant job. But I do get where Cal's coming from. I absolutely get where you're coming from completely.
You need to see it.
Yep, that's fair. That is fair. That's fair. That is a really fair point. And what I will say, what Cal don't need me to defend him, but I will, is Cal's holding that same standard for his own players. So you can't say he's a hater when he's saying it about his own players at the same time. Not in my personal opinion. Not in my personal opinion anyway. But away from that, back to Xavi Simons, which is actually what we were talking about. I do think it's a very good piece of business for Chelsea. I also think it's a bit. They just need to keep improving. They need this quality. Still want to see them sign a goalkeeper because, for me, Chelsea fans might not like hearing this, but I stand on it. I'm judging them based on how they compete for the league title next year. I'm not saying they got to win it because I'm really sick of in this space. X must, Y must, Z must. I heard yesterday Arsenal must win the league. I was like, I hear you. Do you think they're the favourites? No. City and Liverpool are better. Then I don't understand that they must. Then I get must win a trophy because there's 4 things you're in for, and you can win trophies. That's fair. I'm not doing this. Chelsea must win the league. Fuck off. That's just stupid. They're not the favourites. They're the 4th favourite. But I am going to judge them based on how much they close the gap on Liverpool. City, Arsenal, and how far they get pushed. If they're like February, fall off and end up nowhere near the title, I think that's a disappointing Premier League season for them. I don't think you can have the growth they have, the trophies they've just won, the money that's been spent, the plethora of quality in the squad, because the growth in some of these players in the last 2 to 3 months has been amazing. They've got to go to that next level in the league now for me. And I think Xavi Simons, I think he helps them bridge that gap. I really do.
I do as well. I think Chelsea are dark horses this season. Like, I don't think you can beat PSG and be a rubbish team. I don't think you can win the Club World Cup and be a rubbish team. I think last season they underperformed at points because of injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But up until they got the injury, I think it was to Jackson, they were cooking last season. And I think that affected Cole Palmer as well, because he had naturally had no one to kind of fizz the ball into and who could play off Cole Palmer. So his game suffered from that. And if Cole Palmer's game suffer, ultimately Chelsea's whole game's going to suffer. Chelsea are going to be a bloody hard team to beat. Chelsea are one of the few teams who came to Anfield last season and, in my opinion, almost pretty much played us off the park. We were very lucky to get a win against Chelsea last season. And from last season, I was saying they're a hell of a team. And if they add to it in the summer, they're going to be even harder to beat. And they've got a winning DNA as well. Like, let's say what we say about Chelsea. Pretty much every season, barring a season here or there, they pick up silverware. You have to rate that. You have to rate that. So they will always be in and amongst it. But I think where people will push back on what you said, Terry, is they've spent so much money that you can't just keep on giving them a free pass as well.
No,
there
I
has
agree.
to be a point where you go, hold on, you spent how much money? You spent all this money in this amount of time and you're still asking for people to go, oh, you know, give them a bit of time. Like, nah, I don't think Man United will be given that time, Terry. I don't think, bro, this is the first summer Liverpool has spent money. What's the expectation of Liverpool? Go and do League and Champions League next season.
Yeah.
Arsenal spent bare money. What's the expectation? You must win. So why is it different for Chelsea? I think that's what the problem is. Chelsea are afforded a lot of leeway, in my opinion, and we get told the whole, but our squad's young and all this. These are the players you decided to purchase. No one else said you had to purchase this caliber or this age profile of player. You spent this amount of money. This is what you've bought. You've got to cook with what you buy, right? Or else don't buy it. So for me, if any other big team was spending the way they're spending and doing all that stuff, the expectation would be to win something, to do something big. For me, I have to hold the same energy for Chelsea. They have to compete for a long time in the league and they have to win some form of silverware, or else it's a waste.
I agree about not giving them a pass anymore. They're going into their fourth year of their rebuild. Billions have been spent. They're winning major trophies. There has to be an expectation of delivery. There's no doubt about that. I completely and utterly concur, mate. 100%. 6 leagues versus 13 bigger club is what Cal, the gunner, says here.
I'm guessing that's Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how much you want me to go into it. I'm not an Arsenal fan, so again, I have no horse in the race here. But if we're just going to do league titles, fair enough. But do the rest of the trophies not mean anything? Champions Leagues not mean anything? Does Europa Leagues not mean anything? Club World Cups, do they not mean anything? Because if you're just going to do leagues and FA Cups to suit a narrative, then you got to speak about the other trophies as well, right? Because let's be real, in the last 25 years, Chelsea won more trophies than anyone, right? That screams big club to me.
Well, yeah, look, I look at it. It's a debate for another day that I'm not going into. I think the Champions Leagues and the Club World Cup have to hold weight because
they have to hold weight.
They have to hold weight. There's no doubt. But equally, though, I will say, like, more than double the league titles is massive. You know, you got to remember when Liverpool and Man United were having this debate, it wasn't until you guys matched our league title where most major Liverpool accounts, fans, ex-players went, we are now finally more successful, which meant even though you had more Champions Leagues, because I know that I've heard Jamie Carragher before say winning Champions Leagues is harder.
Terry, look how close we are, though, Terry.
No, I understand. No, I do understand that, right? But again, you've got more champion. The gap between our Champions League and your Champions Leagues, okay, is bigger than Arsenal's and Chelsea's. It's two versus 3, right?
But won 3.
Yeah, I get that. But so we say
none.
No, I understand. I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. I understand. But equally, you are only one league title behind us, and even some Liverpool fans are like, "Oh, the league titles hold a lot of weight." To have more than double the league titles but they have won one. It holds water. It's a debate. It really is a debate.
All right, that's fair though, Terry. Chelsea won 2 Champions Leagues to Arsenal's none, and how many Europa Leagues have they won?
I think Liverpool. So Arsenal have. This is where people get a bit disingenuous. Arsenal have got a Cup Winners' Cup, which we and you both know was big when it was around. But they have. It was big, man. Come on, that was a big trophy.
The other two, though, Terry.
So, well, it was bigger than the UEFA Cup when it was around. It was a second tier. However, the other trophy they've got, the Fairs Cup. The problem with people that was what the UEFA Cup and the Europa. It was Fairs Cup that became the UEFA Cup, which became the Europa League. And for some weird reason, when anyone talks about Arsenal's trophies, they discount it. And the point I'm making is
Chelsea won Cup Winners' Cup as well. Didn't Zola scored in the
final? They won the Cup Winners' Cup. Their European pedigree is much better. I'm not making that argument. What I am saying about Arsenal's is the Cup Winners' Cup was the second tier European trophy when it was around. It was put above the UEFA Cup. Teams, and I was reading about this about 5 months ago. We're talking about this. Essentially, if you qualified for the UEFA Cup because of your league position, but you also won a trophy, teams would give up the UEFA Cup to be in the Cup Winners' Cup. So the fact you'd give that up was for me is enough proof to go it was bigger at the time. The thing I don't like is that is the diminishing of the Fairs Cup, which is what the Europa League used to be called. It's not that the trophy changed. It isn't the same trophy, but the World Cup changed. The World Cup trophy now isn't that one. It's changed. It used to look different, but we don't say it's not the same trophy. It hasn't changed name, to be fair, but the Champions League has changed name. The Champions League used to be called the European Cup. Now it's the Champions League, and it's just because it's the same trophy. I think people will identify it in the same way. I don't like the disrespect because history means something. Because if you start undoing Arsenal's history,
you can undo everyone's.
You can undo everybody's, and that's why again people think I'm protecting Arsenal. I'm not. I'm protecting things my club has won in the past. I saw someone once talk about how you can't count those league titles because they were in the 1920s. Well, at some point, that means what you're winning. This is the irony with standards. That means at some point, what you've won today becomes irrelevant. Therefore, it means nothing anyway if it's going to be irrelevant one day. We can't do that for me. But look, viewers, give us your thoughts and opinions on that. Speaking of Arsenal, you have to look at intangibles like aura. Cheers, Lou. I love that. Cup Winners' Cup winners played the Super Cup final. Exactly. It was bigger than It was bigger than the Europa or UEFA in its day. It absolutely was. There's no doubt about that. Wasn't that the same argument for Saka in the 22-23 season? It was, my friend. And Rice has 36 GA in 2 seasons, does he? Jesus,
yeah, he gets a bunch of assists. He does get clutch goals as well.
Yeah,
but
he does.
Again, I'm not going to do the whole GA to judge a midfielder. Like,
I hear. Yeah,
like there's more than just
there's definitely more to it. No, there's no doubt. On Arsenal, though, now that we're on them, obviously they signed Gyökeres yesterday, and there's a lot of talk now. Fabrizio has said they're not done yet. Jacobs has said they're not done yet. They're going to go out again. There was a few days of saying they've called talks with other players, but there's a lot of talk now that after Gyökeres, Eze is going to be the guy. First of all, how good a piece of business do you think Gyökeres to Arsenal is?
He's good. Again, I need to see him do it at a high level before I can go, yeah, he's the guy. You look at the goals he scored, and again, based on the goals he scored, you'd call him world class, right? But he's not, because again, we need to see him do it in a better league. Even though he has done it in the Champions League, you need to see him do it in a better league. He is someone that if Arsenal create the amount of chances they create for Havertz, you'd expect him to convert way more chances, so Arsenal would get way more points, making them a more dangerous team. It's just whether they can translate that to his game and he can adapt to the Premier League into Arsenal's game. And again, I keep on saying it, Arsenal's biggest hindrance isn't their players, it's their manager. Until their manager gets things right on a consistent basis, they're always going to be where they are.
And when you say things right, what do you specifically mean by that?
Winning and getting them over the line.
Just getting them over the line. Yeah.
And making the right decisions in the right times to allow them to do that.
I think that's what I like about this signing for Arsenal, just from a debate perspective, is I think get Gyökeres. Go now and get Eze. And I know some Arsenal fans are saying we need left-hand side as well. I get that. But I think if they add Eze to this now, with what else they've got, it's come on now, go and win trophies. You're signing one of the most prolific available goal scorers in the world. I think Zubimendi's so underrated. Eze coming in, I just think Eze is going to show levels like Elise did last season. I know he's a different profile and a different age, but I think he's going to show levels in a better team. I agree with you. I think this puts a lot of pressure. I think it puts, and when I say it puts pressure on Arteta, I think it puts the right pressure on Arteta.
It's good pressure, right?
And Arsenal fans should be absolutely embracing this because it removes the ball didn't do enough, the ball didn't do this, and I think they have. I think they've done well so far this summer. You can see it on the screen just a few minutes ago. If I scroll backwards, you look so far this summer at Arsenal. It's right up there now. Zubimendi, Madueke, Norgard, Kepa, Mosquera, Gyökeres. They're going to add Eze to that list. I mean, not everyone's going to rate every signing. That's fair, right? Because that's the way thing goes. The only one I look at on there that I still don't quite get is Noni Madueke. But you add Eze to this list and then maybe one other player. It's a lot of money, a lot of goals, a lot of technical ability. And even Madueke, I still think on transitions as a sub, I think he's much better than a Reece Nelson. I still think he'll give him something. I don't think he's going to be a dud like Raheem Sterling. Does that make sense? Or Willian. I don't think he's going to be a complete washout and not deliver anything for them. But there are zero excuses to not now win a trophy. They have to go and win a trophy. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, completely agree as well. I think the head loss for the Madueke thing is a culmination of a few things. I don't think it's just him isolated. I think it's the fact that Arsenal have been buying players from Chelsea for a few years now. And he's never benefited Arsenal.
Yeah.
The fact that I think the meltdown was he's going to play left wing for Arsenal, which I don't think will happen. If you isolate the Madueke signing just in terms of what it is, and let's say they do go and get Eze, and Eze is their new left winger, and Madueke is a player that covers both left wing and right wing, because let's be honest, Saka needs some help over that side as well, then it turns out to be actually not a bad signing at all. You could arguably say it's a good sign and a smart piece of business, even though the price is a bit high. I think it all depends on if Arsenal do anything else. If Madueke is their starting left winger, then it's going to be a fun thing still. I can't lie.
Agreed. There needs to be more than that. He can't be the main guy. Because again, do I think he's better than Martinelli? Maybe at taking players on. Do I see a difference in the output? Which I think is I know we said about midfielders. Output can't be the sole thing you look at. Agreed. Attackers, it's a massive thing because your main job is to create and score. Exactly, that final decision. So I think it's very, very important to look at. But it's interesting, really. I think Eze will be excellent for them. Could they? What do you see happening with Rodrigo? Because you're looking at him, Arsenal are looking at him. It looks like he's going to leave. Where do you see Rodrigo ending up, Cal?
Oh, I see him at Liverpool potentially. I think if he leaves Real Madrid, I think we have the best chance of signing him. I wouldn't rule Chelsea out because of just who Chelsea are and the way they operate in the transfer market. They're very cutthroat. If Arsenal are looking at Eze, then I don't see them getting Rodrigo. I think if it's either Rodrigo stays at Real Madrid or I think he ends up at Liverpool.
It could go Liverpool. I discount Chelsea slightly, and the only reason I do that is the wages. It's whether or not they're willing to break that wage structure. I just don't know whether they will. They may go because again, what's Rodrigo going to get paid? He's going to be getting 250, if not 300k a week wherever he goes. Probably. He's got to. So it's whether or not they're going to make him, barring Reece James, are they going to make him their highest paid player above Palmer, Enzo, Caicedo, the players that have gotten to this point? Listen, he's won more than them. He's a bigger star than all of them. It's whether or not, it's not about paying him. It's about the knock-on effect and everybody else wanting new deals. It's whether, and they've got loads of bloody money after selling their women's team, the Club World Cup. They've probably got the money to do it. But again, that money will be eaten into very quickly. If your wage bill suddenly jumps up by 60 million pounds a year, that money goes quickly. It goes very, very quickly. Over a 2 to 3. Basically, all the money you've won is now gone on player contracts for the next four or 5 years. So it's whether Chelsea are willing to do that. The reason I'm not sure if they will is they've been ridiculed for their wage structure, but they've gone and got themselves into a point now where they're looked at as title contenders. They won the Club World Cup. Will Clear Lake then go, well, why are Clear Lake going to suddenly go, let's break it? When it's got them to this point, I'm just not sure if they will yet.
There's always outliers, isn't it? And let's be real, Rodrigo is one of the better players in world football. So they could sit there and go, yeah, we don't usually do this, but how often is there going to be a chance for us to go and get a Rodrigo and who's a bona fide starter and potentially a game changer for us? Because if he goes left wing, he starts for Chelsea. If he goes left wing at Liverpool, he starts for Liverpool. Arsenal, he starts for Arsenal. He starts for every team in the Premier League. Maybe even City might even have a little run at it.
Yeah, City are a great shout. Let's see what also happens with. See, I think what you guys do with Luis Diaz is key, because if Bayern Munich get him, they're ruled out. But if you don't sell him for whatever reason, then Bayern Munich, because they will pay the money, because Bayern Munich don't spend that much on transfers compared to some of the English teams, but they spend a huge amount of money on salary. They pay.
Apparently that's their undoing at the moment. Apparently that's why they're not in for Rodrigo.
Oh, really? Because of the money? Oh,
apparently
wow.
So. Those are the rumors. I can't say that's the.
I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I think the top 6 Premier League teams have spent more than the rest of Europe put together so far this summer.
Probably, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. And because let's be real, Liverpool, this is. Bro, we've never spent money like this, and you'd arguably say Arsenal kind of have spent money like this over the last few years. Man United are kind of the ones that are surprising everyone that you guys haven't spent a bunch of money like you usually do. Chelsea always spend money. City, I think City's gone under the radar of how much money they've spent from January to now. City has spent a lot of money since January, so. The big 6 clubs, they're doing what they can to stay like that and improve their position within that 6.
Well, Mark Goldbridge, I was streaming with him yesterday morning about this time, and he said something that I thought was so interesting, that he thinks a lot of the clubs that are in the Champions League are going so big this year because they see the fact that they could create some clear blue water, which means it's like a guarantee of that Champions League money, which who knows what the qualification for the Club World Cup is going to look like next time. Example being, I might be wrong about this, but Chelsea fans on our show said that someone just said Bomber. Has something happened? No. When someone writes Bomber, I get really excited. No, nothing's happened. Thanks. Chelsea, just because they've won it, don't qualify for the next one. So, it's Ben Jacobs bomb.
Yeah, I think that's always, but I say that's always been the case. It's a completely new format now, though, isn't it?
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Bayern Munich are set to make an improved offer for Luis Diaz. Yeah, that's coming in.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll be honest. I know a lot of Liverpool fans don't like Diaz. I do like Diaz. I'd be more than happy to keep Diaz. The issue is I don't think the club are willing to give him a new contract, and I don't think he's willing to stay for much longer at the club on the contract he's on. And I don't blame him.
By the way, viewers, it's not a bomber when it's Ben Jacobs. It's a Jacobs cracker. Come on, we've got to get the terminology right. It's a we get a here we go. We get an Ornstein bomber. We get a Jacobs cracker. So let's get it right, because then I'll know who to go to. But yeah, so the point on the spending, I think no one knows what the qualification for it is going to look like, because you would imagine the next time round, Liverpool will be invited. I just can't imagine a world where you won't be. But I think if you're in the Champions League for the next 2 or 3 years consistent, challenging for Prems, maybe winning 1 or 2 of them, there's a great chance you're going to be invited to that tournament. Yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised if they make it even bigger because of what they've done this time round. So that's why I think a lot of clubs are going to go for it now. Let's try and create the best and biggest squads possible, have 2 or 3 years of maintaining these levels rather than being a little bit up and down. And then you qualify for that. You can get 100 million quid for it. Like there's Chelsea for a month's work, and they won it as well, which is brilliant. For a month's work, they got 100 million quid, and a lot of clubs want that. They really, really do. This super chat here says, "I'm hearing news that Saudi clubs are after Vinicius Jr. If he leaves, then would Rodrigo want to leave Real Madrid?" No,
he wouldn't. He'd stay. 100%. He'd stay.
Yeah, he'd stay if that happens. Absolutely. Which is why some fans are like, we're only serious if we get everything done quickly. You can't get everything done quickly because Rodrigo might be sitting there and waiting to see what happens with this. 13 leagues, but only 3 Premier League trophies. Chelsea is a bigger club. Sorry, Arsenal. Glory, glory, Man United. Win a Champions League and we'll talk. The thing is, though, I know
the Premier League, just because it's a different name, you can't take shine off league titles. You just can't, in my opinion. Because every era, you played at the era that you were in, right? So if you dominated that era, it means you were the best team in that era. Eras change, eras develop.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't do it to set a precedent. I don't want to set a precedent on that. And the world goes, yes, that's the consensus. And then the Premier League changes name and brand, and new trophy comes in, and suddenly Man United have no league titles. No, I'm not doing that. Sometimes in life, be careful the precedent you set. Think long term, not short term when it comes to these types of things, in my opinion. I wouldn't personally do that because, again, it's not about us. It's not about Arsenal. It's not about Chelsea. I'm protecting my club here. Listen, I want to thank.
Just on that as well,
go on.
Where do you set the precedent then? Because I could start being shady and moving goalposts and be like, we're more successful than every other team in the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, but football lasts longer than the last 5 years, right? So yeah, we can speak about different eras and stuff like that, but ultimately there's a football in history, right? So if there's a history, then you have to take up on the whole history rather than the narrative that just suits your club for your argument.
Yeah. Listen, I want to thank each and every single person who's hit the like button, everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's super chatted. We're live after Arsenal versus AC Milan for a match reaction. We're also live for Straight Facts around 3:15 as well. So a very busy morning and early afternoon on the Football Terrace. So make sure you're back with us. Cal, let everyone know where they can find you, brother.
You can find me over on Team Kopish, Kopish. I think we'll probably do a live show later this evening, and then a few other shows and that tomorrow and then Friday as well.
Yes, your first preseason. Well, you got a preseason game Saturday, right? Saturday at midday, I think.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't watch that game. It's my little one's birthday.
Well, happy birthday to the little one, man. Enjoy that.
Big up to everyone in the chat as well, whether you agreed or disagreed. Big up everyone, man.
That's what we're here for. That is what we are here for. So we'll see you all in a couple of hours' time. This is going to redirect you to that match reaction. So go like it. Go get yourselves ready. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all soon. Peace.